And welcome back to Digital Trends Live. We broadcast live every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines, interviews, and discussions. And that's what we're about to have right now. I'm Greg Nibbler, and this is one of our new segments here on Digital Trends, where we're very excited to team up with Flipboard for Tech Briefs, where I am joined now by Ken Yeung, the technology editor for Flipboard. Hello, Ken.
Hey, Greg, how's it going? Nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too. This is always fun. So this is going to be our segment every Friday. We're kind of take a look back at some of the big headlines in technology over the last week. But this week, Ken and I actually talked about this yesterday. There's really one company dominated so much of the news this week and so much going on, and that is Facebook. Facebook with the F8 developer conference and their in everything that they announced, and just kind of the fascinating unveiling of what it is they're trying to do, which is still a little bit confusing. But privacy, I think. Privacy seemed to be a really big push in this. Wouldn't you agree?
I actually think so. I mean, they've been touting this for a couple of years. I mean, in light of the Cambridge Analytica and the repeated scandals that have plagued the company, they've kind of had to probably make what was probably the third or fourth major pivot of its 15-year lifespan. It went from just a web-based social network to betting on HTML5. Obviously, we know that went poorly. So then they went to mobile first, and now they are going after privacy. And they're now, according to Zuck, on stage at F8, it's that Facebook's future is privacy.
Yeah, and he even, we pulled a quick clip of him during that developer conference that we'll play here. Him acknowledging some of the security issues, and then maybe we can talk about how well that went over or how it didn't go over. Let's go ahead and roll that right here. This is Mark Zuckerberg at F8.
Now look, I get that a lot of people aren't sure that we're serious about this. I know that we don't exactly have the strongest reputation on privacy right now, to put it lightly. But I'm committed to doing this well and to starting a new chapter for our product.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was really the right way to acknowledge all of the security issues that have gone on with Facebook.
Yeah, it seemed sincere right at the beginning, and then they kind of just ruined the entire vibe of the rest of the keynote. I think what he wanted to come across as is sincere, but realistically, with these bland jokes, it didn't really work out for a company that needs to show that it really cares about people's privacy. And you look at the announcements, if we're just going to jump right into it, all around privacy, he talks about the encryption. He talks about his 6 principles, which he laid out in a blog post a few months ago. And now it's all centered around integrating the infrastructure of all their messaging apps, that being Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook Messenger. These are 3 apps that have dominated the space and have a huge share. Probably the only one that may come close is even WeChat, based in China. So you look at those announcements from F8, it seemed pretty interesting, but then it just kind of went off the rails, and then he starts talking about things such as, oh, and now we have secret crush on Facebook dating. We now have this new feature on Instagram that allow creators to make money, and all these other things, and it just didn't really jive together. In fact, actually, I reached out to someone over at the Electronics Frontier Foundation, the EFF, asked for comment about that, and their approach, basically, their comment to me was, we'll let me actually quote them so I don't actually misquote them. We'll believe it when we see it. And they're actually saying that some of the announcements from F8 don't quite line up with the privacy vision the company has been paying so much lip service to recently. And again, they're quoting things like Facebook dating and secret crush seem like the last places you should double down on as a privacy challenged company trying to become a privacy focused one. So this is kind of telling.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and talking about that security side of it, that they need to come out with a concrete message about this, because there are so many issues and so much mistrust over the company. And then, just like you're saying, they say one thing, they're doing something else. We believe it when we see it, and whether or not these things come to fruition. And talking about, basically the idea of whether we trust Facebook with our data or not. And they said they wanted this privacy encryption side, but then they also kind of slid in there that they're going to be selling targeted leads from Facebook users to small businesses, which is exactly what we're concerned with of what they're using our data for. Right. I mean, it's just kind of unbelievable.
Right. I mean, it's that saying, as the saying goes, the call is coming from inside the house. I mean, you look at the recent scandals that have plagued it with data being out there with Cambridge Analytica and the most recent one where millions of user data was left out unprotected. I mean, that kind of ultimately came from Facebook to third-party vendors. So, I mean, this is basically a way for Facebook to better protect their advertising and their data, and while under the guise of saying, hey, look, we're not letting any third-party developer use this carelessly, and we're just going to be better protective of your data, which on the surface it seems okay, but really I think it bears additional scrutiny.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot to unpack with that from that event. I mean, there's so much that went on. And talking about a couple of other things too, maybe looking at some of the news that's come out since F8 Developers Conference, we have this news about a cryptocurrency. So can you fill us in just a little bit on that, about what Facebook's looking to possibly do here?
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole blockchain push has been around for probably at least a couple of years. It's being run by David Marcus, who formerly run PayPal while it was under eBay, and now they've have Kevin Weil, formerly from Instagram, who's now working with David Marcus on this initiative. A lot of it hasn't really been publicly released, but according to the Journal and TechCrunch and a bunch of other and Cheddar and a bunch of other publications, they've kind of reported bits and pieces about what's happening. So we're kind of getting a better picture about it. And right now, it seems that Facebook, based on yesterday's report from the Journal, they're looking to create this sort of a cryptocurrency, this token, unnamed token, that will allow people to send payments to their friends through messaging apps or whatever, and even get paid a fraction of this token just for viewing an ad. So there is you look at what they want to do with WhatsApp in terms of cryptocurrency and wanting to pay, allow people to do peer-to-peer payments through the site, through the app. I mean, this kind of seems logical while also having some sort of some essence of protecting user data from it. So, I mean, blockchain is an interesting technology, and we'll see how Facebook winds up using it. But I think if they're coming out with some way that decentralizes who owns their data, basically the customer owns their own data, I mean, that might go well for Facebook, but it's all a matter of how the execution comes to play.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of it, just like everything that they're doing. How is it going to be executed? What is going to happen with it? Will they follow through? And can we trust them? And so far, I don't think that was necessarily a great representation at F8 as far as just instilling that trust back to everyone. Well, it's a lot to cover, a lot to talk about with Facebook, and this segment every week is so much fun because we get to talk about these kinds of things and really recap it and bring people up to date. And there's more going on with Facebook than we could probably ever cover in a 3-hour segment. But with 10 minutes, I think we gave everybody a little bit of an update as far as where we're going. And Ken, thank you so much for joining us too. Every week we do this Digital Trends Flipboard teaming up for Tech Briefs. And Ken, looking forward to talking to you next week.
Likewise, looking forward to it.